Right. We need to decide what we want to do now. Gabriel, wink, wink. Can we put the next slide on? Two things I must do before we carry on. One of them is I sent LLF members the minutes of the last meeting. Was everybody happy with them? And can we sign them off? Yeah, first thing. The second thing is this is a relevant resolution you should see carried by the Western Orbital LLF. This one, stop, on the 30th of October. And this was, I presented this to the Joint Assembly and then the Board, asking for more time between the reports being published and the Joint Assembly meeting so we can make reasonable responses and we can consult with our colleagues. I haven't had any response on that yet, but I will be chasing it, but that needs to happen. Okay, so I just want to ask the LLF members now what we want to do, because I think, do we want to make a formal response to this consultation? Do we want to make a response to the consultation itself or the proposals? Do we want just the one or both? Do we want to respond to the consultation and the way it's been done and what's been omitted or what we might not like? Okay, and then do we want to make an official response as well to the proposals themselves? So there's two things. Yeah, and then how do we want to do that? I mean, we have 4 new resolutions that have been tabled. We can look at them, think about them, debate them, or we could just try to agree what it is we want to say in a formal consultation now. Bridget and I can go away and read it, and we can send it round and make sure everybody's happy with it. Issue an open letter.
Chairman, I got a loud enough voice, most people hear me. To do a consultation by committee is just going to be a nightmare, because we'll never. I think the best thing for you to do is to go away, put together the answers to your consultation, and then bring it back. That's the best way, and then we can look at it if we want to be. And give it to us in plenty of time so we can sort out anything behind the scenes before we come here, and then we can do it. And if there's sticking points, there's sticking points. That's as simple as that, and we can do it. But I think to do it by committee is a nightmare. You can't do it like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also think that maybe, considering the discussion that's just happened tonight, it may be a little waste of your time to work out a response to every single part of the consultation, because actually what we heard tonight suggests that most of this consultation's informal and not that useful. So I would say that your response should be to reiterate that the LLF has a proposed idea that based on the discussion with the officers tonight, we agree to work that out into a workable on-road solution based around the ideas previously presented. And rather than responding to every issue that is raised, it would be better use of your time.
Yeah. We've also been remarkably consistent in what we've said all along. I mean, we all know that we've passed resolution after resolution unanimously, and we know that what the issues we have with the proposals, I think, as long as we agree the issues we have with the consultation process as well, if we want to make points about that, the issues I highlighted earlier in my preamble, then that would be a good starting point. So if anybody has any issues with what I said earlier about the problems with the consultation document, then we need to raise them now, otherwise we'll start.
Chair, if I
I'll
may.
be wasting my time. Yeah.
If I may, I think you did ask earlier on if we should debate the new motions in front of us. Frankly, they do cover the topics that have been discussed this evening already, and I think if we were to incorporate those into our response, that will give a full and frank opinion of what we think and what we would like to see.
I agree. I agree with you. I think that's absolutely right. But I do think we should, with proper process, debate them and see if they pass, and unanimously or by majority or whatever. Because I do think that's the reflection of the view of the NLF. So I would propose to actually go through four resolutions, debate them, take a vote, and that will then give you to the mandate you need to prepare a response to the consultation. And I think on that basis, it's very likely what you would then circulate would be agreeable, because we've already been through this process.
So I think 3 of the 4 resolutions suggest that consultation should come to a grinding halt, and one says the document should be amended. I think that's right. So I don't think, I think we could discuss whether the NLF supports recommending that the consultation comes to a grinding halt because there's inadequate information or the information is being misrepresented or whatever it is. So I suggest that maybe we talk about that as opposed to going through each of the topics.
Do we agree with that? Who wants to go through each of the resolutions in turn?
Chair, can I suggest something slightly different? I think the point in terms of whether or not we stop the consultation or propose to stop.
Can you switch on the mic?
Yes, it is on, I think. Can people hear me now? Yeah. Chair, in terms of whether or not we try to stop the consultation, I think that's a separate point from the resolution. So we should just uncouple it from all the resolutions and go through the resolutions separately. But the first point is the principle of whether or not we stop the consultation, because actually it's become farcical now, just in terms of the number of corrections they put out. That the public are just generally confused. So I think we should have a short debate on that and take a view, and then go through the resolutions, ignoring the part of each resolution which talks about stopping the consultation.
So on that subject, I think, even though it's a nice idea stopping it, I think the reality is that we're not going to be able to. And their argument is going to be that this isn't a statutory consultation. If it was the statutory one, and they made the sort of pig's ear of it that they made over this, then I think, we would be quite justified in expecting them to stop it, get all their act together, get the facts correct and start it again. So, I think we would be making a point, but actually I think the chances of them actually saying, okay, NLF, we're going to stop it, I think are probably absolutely zilch. Let's not be sidetracked by... Let's not be sidetracked by things that we actually can't deliver on. Whereas there might, there's probably some things that actually we can deliver on. That's just purely my view.
Yeah, the difficulty going forward is that they have put forward a consultation, a 28-page consultation leaflet without adequate information on costs, destinations, city centre access, greenbelt impact. They are not insignificant problems. So are we saying suspend it until we have that information?
One point I'd like to make, and it just is in relation to the idea that we've got a flawed process underway, and I would be very worried that what comes from that, in other words, the material that comes from that is going to be flawed inherently. So I would want a point to be made to the authorities, basically, that if you're going to continue with this, and there's an acknowledgement that it's not very well done, please then don't take the details from the consultation and say this is it, this is done and dusted, we've done the consultation and these are the results. We run the risk then of having a doubly flawed process.
I have to say, I have to say that my position on the consultation is whether or not it's statutory, whether or not it's binding, whether or not it's formal. It is a consultation. It does exist, and the data from it will be analysed. And if they show a particular outcome, that response will be used to support further decision making. It's so poorly put together, it's so defective that I can't see that there's any merit in it carrying on. And if the only reason for us to not to object to it is that our objection might be ignored, well, then we probably shouldn't have started this 2 years ago, because pretty much everything we've ever said has been ignored. Thank you. So I would say that if we believe that it's an unsound consultation, we should ask that it be suspended, rectified, and then reissued when it is in a fit state. That's my view.
I mean, I'm happy to accept. I'm happy to accept that.
Chair, I think we all know they're not going to stop the consultation, but this is all about an audit trail, and it's about making sure that our views are registered. And in particular, because I concur with the point in terms of this is a data set that they will take forward, and you know, they will assume that the data set is correct, and they will make assumptions from it, and we need to make sure that we have an audit trail so we can go back and point them to it and say that actually the consultation was fundamentally flawed, and as a result of that you cannot use the data set from the consultation. We've seen how they used the data set from the previous consultation and manipulated it in various ways throughout the process.
That's true. I mean, that particular consultation document, when summarising the outcomes of the previous consultation, the thing they missed out was that almost 70% of people wanted the route to be on the road. But they didn't miss out the fact that 70% of people thought better bus journeys were a good idea, and that 48% of people wanted to park and ride on muddy deal. So, but they did miss out the crucial point. So, yeah, I mean, I think I'd be inclined to take Gabriel's stance on that.
So could we actually use the last sentence of Marx's proposed resolution as a standalone resolution? So resolution 1 would just say the consultation should be withdrawn immediately and relaunched when the deficiencies, omissions and misleading statements identified by the LLF are all rectified. Would that be an acceptable resolution we could vote on? Yes. It's beautifully worded. I like the previous sentence, Marcus, very much, but
I
probably don't need it.
I just don't agree with that, because one thing that going into data sets and all this, and going into the data sets and the audit trail and all that is absolutely right. But one of the ways that it's very easy to misrepresent or miss out what we say is when we respond in enormous detail. And a lot of our resolutions are very long and complicated, and I would suggest that being pithy is really important here.
Can I just check though that the letter that you will issue will have all that information, that the detailed information that Marcus has put in that resolution?
Yeah, I think
We
we should
have a
have separate
summary, yeah.
resolutions.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But basically we're saying that our problems with the consultation document are the incorrect treatment of Route B, incomplete information on cost, incomplete information on connectivity and journey times to key employment sites, incomplete information on the last mile, or non-existent information on the last mile, no information on greenbelt impact, and misleading information on the park and ride sites. So that's our problem, plus there's no BCR mentioned. But then also we need, as Marcus points out in his resolution, that we need to point out that then were additions made on the 28th of November by the Transport Director who unintentionally left out several key facts. So yeah, we'll make all of those points, but the resolution is that final line. Okay. Okay. So shall we?
Got a question from Robin?
Yeah, I think that we'd all support the resolution. I think that you need to go one step further. Resolutions in the past have just been ignored. This one probably will be ignored as well. I think that what you need to do instead is actually to say that unless these deficiencies are corrected, the LLF dissociates itself and disowns the consultation process and threaten that as being a public statement, but because of your lack of confidence in the impartiality or the thoroughness with which the process is being carried out, you will dissociate yourself from it. That, I think, might actually cause the Executive Board to pause before they ignored you if there was that risk of some form of public finger-pointing through their own body, called the NLF, dissociating themselves from the process. That's one thing I would do. The second thing I would do is, I think, the response which the NLF needs to make to the consultation, because there's no way you're going to stop it, is to ignore totally what's in the paper, in the consultation document, and instead submit what you see, what we see, as being the proper version of the on-road option which we've been pushing for all along, and that is our submission. And you don't go through the process of jumping through the hoops of asking the rather fatuous questions which are included in the consultation document. So I think that if you threaten them to dissociate and your submission is this is the correct version, I think it's a much stronger position you're playing.
So, thank you, Robin. I would be really nervous about dissociating ourselves from the whole process, because I think that some people would be delighted if we all disappeared off the face of the earth, quite honestly, and ceased to play a role in this. So I think it's a risky strategy, because I think I can just see them saying, oh well, you know, fine guys, you know, we'll do our focus groups, you know, with people that we pick, and you know, we are a thorn in the flesh, and you know, if we offer to withdraw, then I think that might be accepted too readily.
Alan, is it okay to take a question from the floor?
It is very quick, because
it's just that we ordinary people can, in our submissions, can say that we see this as a flawed study, and if we've already submitted, we can submit again saying we think this is a flawed process.
Can we not otherwise just say that, can we not add a bit on to the end of this saying that unless these flaws are corrected, this consultation cannot be supported by the LLF?
Yes.
Yes.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Do you want to write that? It's live resolution making.
Something like that, Rich?
Okay, Tim.
Bridget, there's a difference between dissociating yourself from the consultation and dissociating yourself from the entire project.
Oh, right, okay, point taken.
And I think it's the former, not
Yes.
the latter, which I was recommending.
Thank you, I take your point. Thank you.
Which I...
I think that's sensible.
Sorry.
Not the output, the outcome of the consultation. Or I think even support this consultation process. Yeah. I think it cannot support this consultation process. It's not just the outcome, is it? It's the way it's been done.
Well, we can say the process and the outcome.
Well,
Are you happy with that?
Well, yeah, I thought Charles was waiting, but it was just to say that I that was what I was agreeing with, actually. You put it very well,
Yeah.
which is to say, you know, the consultation's there. Based on the discussion we had, it's clear that what we say hasn't been represented in this consultation, and we accept the opportunity to redo this with the officers,
yeah.
which was the opportunity presented to us in this meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, and I personally I prefer a more sort of positive approach to engage with the officers than saying what you've done so far is inadequate for effective consultation. So I heard this is the informal part of the consultation process. They've recognised that a number of mistakes have been made, but they've actually said we'd be very happy to work with you to change and improve option B to reflect all of the different
Theresa May.
So anyway, I would prefer less of a threat to withdraw and more of a positive approach to engage and improve.
Sorry, I think we're in danger of sort of getting into this sort of trying to write the letter and draft everything in committee, and I think that Rod's original idea that this should just be a very short resolution about the consultation process, and this is just about the consultation process that they've done, you know, the documents, I think that if we can agree this as a very clear basic statement, I think that what you're saying, Charles, about wanting to work with them in a positive way to address the issues about option B and work with them to improve that should be in the letter that Bridget and Helen are going to draft, and that should really be a positive letter in terms of what we want to happen.
I don't like personally that the consultation should be withdrawn immediately. So that to me is too extreme an approach. So I would struggle to support that.
How about suspended? Is it a wording, or is it just that you don't want, you think it should go to the end?
I think we've made some very important points which point to some deficiencies and questions which are missing in the current documentation. I'd like this to be rectified, and then I would like to re-engage with the officers to optimise option B and any others that people want to optimise. So I don't think we need to sort of threaten the process.
What about suspended? Because they can't. There has to be some period when they can be working on pause.
Pause.
Yeah.
It kind of paused it anyway, just by default, because
It should be paused. And yes, we wish to work with the officers to put right what's wrong, and most particularly to work on Route B.
Couldn't we have that at the end? If we said, I mean, I think we still need to be quite strong about these issues need to be addressed and that the LLF can't support it otherwise, but could we not end with on a positive note and say that we would like to work with the officers to improve this process?
Do we need the second sentence at all? Could we just then go first sentence and then, but we wish to work to put it right?
Can we take it away and do it, and then consult with everybody about it? Because I think we need to
okay.
Chair, can I just say that we do need to put on record what they have said this evening, because what we tend to find is that actually, although it's on video, that they don't necessarily actually mean what they say. So
Somebody needs to transcribe it, don't they?
So, perhaps officers speak is slightly different from what reality is. But the point is that I heard it very clearly that they're prepared to sit down again with clean sheets of paper, and actually we should record that as from their side, not us welcoming it, but them actually saying they agreed in a formal meeting to do that with us.
You can make that very positive, Rob, and say at the beginning, like, we're grateful that accepted that there were flaws. Start off with that, and we, looking forward to that would be a resolution too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it is worth transcribing, actually. I think it's transcribing the exact words if we can get a copy of the tape. Because I think you start off with that and say we are happy to take the opportunity invited by Chris Dunstop at the LLF to pause the process, because he has acknowledged that we haven't got a fair representation, and I think, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we will go away, and that's resolution 1 and 2. We'll work up the wording, shall we? And then, but what's the plan then?
I'd like to keep it brief. And you had it down to 2.5 lines.
Yeah.
Keep it at 2.5 lines, and then submit attached to it a covering letter where you can put in all the bit about how we welcome the Chris Council and all the rest of it, and actually list what we think of the deficiencies. You can't put that in the resolution, because you will lose the sharpness of the punchiness of it. Keep it short, brief and punchy like you had it before, and put the rest of this stuff into a covering letter together.
Okay, then we can vote on that, can't we? Because actually what we don't want to have to do is come back here and vote on the resolutions that we go away, and nor do we want to vote online, I think. So why don't we vote on those first 2 resolutions? Right. Number 1, please.
I agree that the second sentence isn't necessary.
No, I don't think. Should we take out the second sentence?
If we say it should be false.
Shall we vote on that? And who will count?
We're all green, aren't we?
Okay. 17 for, 1 against. Any against?
Yes.
1 against. So 17 for, 1 against. And resolution 2. Okay. Can we vote, please? Not against.